Good morning, friends. Today we are going to see about how to control stress, both in body as well as in mind. In this book, the author has shared a few ideas how to get rid of stress physically and mentally. One of the most important needs in our overfilled agendas is to find space and rest your mouth. This is far more trying to use your mind than your body. The reason why children can be so active from morning till dusk, which can be differentiated from adults, is because they don't have so much stuff in their minds. As we all know, one of today's big problem is excess of information which is stored in our mind. There is so much to observe and so many things coming us every day that it is hard to feel overwhelmed mentally. Even though much of it may be very exciting and interesting, too much of anything, no matter how good, just adds up to overloaded. News, views, and innovation instantly pouring out of us from various sources is extremely demanding of mental resources. No wonder people nervous system are on overdrive. Mental strains, nerves results from being focused too much of the outer world. The world of sense impressions. It is fatiguing to the mind to be constantly focused outwards. The brain needs to focus inwardly as well, in a rhythmical and balanced way. We have imaginations and memories, and if we don't use them sufficiently, they get collapsed. Most people do not spend enough time looking inwards, reflecting on things, thinking, imagination, and so on. This is why we need to sleep regularly to switch off from the outside world. Even during the waking days, we still need to rest and should have a balanced mind. It is for this reason that meditation has been practiced in India and much of the eastern countries during centuries. It gives balance to the sense orientation, impression, putting the mind into another mode, with brain waves often slow down, which can be as refreshing as a night's sleep. This is one of the ancient wisdoms from which we can learn much things. In this book, author has given some more examples to how to get rid from the stress and how to clear the minds. For that, make some special phase for your mind and your nerves and give them a break from working overtime all the times. Put regular slot in your timetable for resting and nourishing your mind. Let me share you a few examples that will help you to get rid of the stress. To start with this, just take 5 or 10 minutes to stare out of the window and rest your mind on the sky and see trees, birds, and whatever you see. Relax yourself, hear the sounds, mingle with the nature. This will help you to get rid of the stress. It will make you to go into a different world. The second exercise. Close your eyes for a few minutes and imagine a white sheet of paper which is very clear, which is very calm, Think of it as a kind of mind fast. Let whatever you have been concentrating on the slip out of your mind for a moment. You can't actually think about nothing. Useless, you are a highly developed yogi. But if you imagine a blank sheet of white paper for a few seconds, a number of times, which will refresh your mind. The next example. Put aside half an hour to listen to some soothing music, memories, or often triggering by music, which can take you on an inward journey, pictures, places you have visited, and happy times with your friends, relatives, with your loved ones. Next one. Take your mind on a refreshing journey in the outside world. Take a walk around the blocks, through the park, or some beautiful gardens, squares, and be nourished by the magical nature. That magical nature really do magic in your life. Bath your mind regularly with others uplifting images like painting, sculptures, or inspiring architectures and other things. This also will nourish and refresh your mind and soul. These are the few examples which can really clean your mind, which will make you to stress bust. Give yourself time to look inwards and to be visualized internally. Wander through your imaginations and dreams as it is refreshing and balancing. In fact, it is one of by dreaming, visualization, imagining that can create the future. A recent quote which come across in my mind is, dreaming is not limited to unreal. Dreaming is stressing real beyond the limits of the present. One of the really inspiring inward focused activity I recommend is to imagine your life as you would really like to. Create an inner picture in different aspects of your life. For example, where would you like to live? Where would you like to go? What is your ideal home? What is your dream? What is your achievement? What is your goal? Then see yourself, you would most like to be interactive with your friends and families. Imagine everything as clearly and completely as you can. Or if you wish to change your job or career, picture yourself working in a job or career you would like instead of working in the bored one. If you don't have a vision for what you would like to create in your outer life, then it is very difficult to make it come true. But when you create a clear picture of what we are aiming for it is amazing how much easier it becomes to achieve it. So this could be the best way for you to begin spending more times on the inner dimension. As you're practicing the visualization techniques which was shared, you will begin to create your own inner land space and a wonderful and a soothing life. And you can go whenever the outer world feels too stressful and demanding or overwhelming. A short example for finding a sense of peace through the visualization. When you have a little time, visualize just one object or a symbol that calms you, which make you refresh yourself as physically and mentally. Say for an example, lighting a candle, a cross, a rainbow, a nature, a bird, a sound, a flower, or wandering, a tree, or roses. By weaving the inner pictures you can give yourself a sort of different minds. In that inner workout, and strengthen your ability to focus your mind on whatever you decide. When you observe pictures or create imagine in your life, you can switch from logical and your left hemisphere of your brain into right hemisphere, which creates and open up your mind. This is a part of a brain that often produces creative solutions to every problems. It is where new thoughts and ideas can arise in the absence of logical inner through processes. This is where inspirations springs from things you have never dreamed of before. The left hemisphere of the brain tends to produce thoughts based on the past, which is already known, whereas when you drift and dream visualize, you allow your mind to become free from logical, analytical, focused world and enter the realm of possibilities. New ideas, inventions, and all creations come from imaginations. So, allow your imagination to speak to you. If imagination started speaking to you, you can get relief from your stress. And other topic is meditation, which is also very useful to get rid from stress. Meditation. Nowadays it has become a very big thing which was spoken by all over the world. Meditation is very similar to the practice and it has been advocating about all through it requires great concentration and discipline. It is a discipline of mind to remain focused on one things only and not allow other thoughts or inner chatter to distract mind away from concentrating on the mantra, the chanting or the dance movement for a set period of time. This concentration quietens the mind, bringing into this present moment, and it actually freeing of mind from our worries and all other fairly useless chatters that goes on most of the time. It is very important antidote to our busy, fantastic world, and you may want to learn this practice. There are many forms and methods for practicing meditations. Some focus on concentrating the mind by giving the word or sound to repeat inwardly, but which has no association with their everyday life. This is intended to lift themselves to a higher level of consciousness away from the mundane to transcendable state. Other form of meditation may focus on movement or chanting. All methods are aimed at taking the practitioner to an altered state of prescription, to an experience that transcends of our everyday stress and worries, showing us how to become more peaceful, calm, joy by connecting to the external. The method you choose will depend on your personal inclination and your goal. There are many schools of meditations where you could join, and a group of instructions and a meditation practice. You can search for an individual teacher or look in your local bookstores where you can want to find a number of instruction books which will make you to get a good meditation. than resting the mind. A small story. A friend of mine who is highly powered television producer always take last 20 minutes at a lunch to shut herself away from to be quiet. Her assistants are instructed not to disturb her as just if she were in an important meeting. Of course, she is in an important meeting with herself. She lies on a floor in her office and practice some relaxation techniques and take herself on a guided daydream to beautiful place in the countryside. When she re-emerges, she is ready to deal with the second half of the day. She is refreshed and had a reliant herself. It is vitally important to rest the nervous system. You will have a great energy and stamina from taking regular mind breaks. Rather than from the normal coffee breaks, your mind needs rest too from stimulating sensory inputs. If you think about it, what is it is actually goes to sleep when you sleep? Is a heart or a liver or a kidney? No. All of our organs continue to work when we are asleep. This is the nervous system that sleep that cut off from the world. This is absolutely essential. We are to function rationally and effectively during the days. We all know how it feels not to have enough sleep. You cannot think straight. The mind needs a rest from sense impression transmitted through the nervous system and then sleep or protected from outer sense impressions. This is really the main purpose of sleep. It's like turning the computer off. The more help and the rest we give the mind and nervous system, not just by switching off into sleep at night, but by switching inward from the time to time during our day. The better mind will work when we return and focus on the outside world. Einstein is reported to have said that he never attempted to remember people's telephone number. He maintained they were written down somewhere and he never cluttered his mind with anything unnecessary. You may think that memorizing certain phone numbers is necessary, but practices of a genius should be ignored. So, we would advise that you simply apply the general principle in a way that it is appropriate for you. Taking the advice of people who are successful is always sensible life management. A small practice which will refine your right to clear your mind. Practice saying to yourself, just because it's out there, it doesn't mean it have to be in here. In your mind and your nervous system, avoid cluttering up the internal you. Next is, don't criticize yourself. However, don't put yourself down by admiring someone else too much. A wonderful quote said by an author, we become whole by withdrawing our projections and owning our own talents and skill. I think this is such a lovely twist on unusual connections of projection, which are generally seen as being those negative, dark parts of our life that we do not acknowledge but assign to the others. Though, that what we admire in someone else could be our own unseen talents, skills, or qualities is delightful uplifting, and not usually considered. I have always believed that is what happens in hero worship. We give away our own hero when we admire so much to think. When we adore pop stars, film stars, or sports heroes, we neglect to express the star within ourselves. Carl Jung, in fact, stated many years ago that whatever we admire in another, we possess within ourselves. For if it did not contain the particular quality or ability, he said, we would not able to recognize it someone else. So whatever you admire about somebody, just start to develop that potential in yourself. It's there lying dormant or just escaping your notice. Let go out of the negative self-talks, answering it back. You don't have to take critical remarks from anybody, not even yourself. If you have a voice inside that I call crap, it crap on what this and that not being right, and I tell this to shut up. Sometimes I converse a little more intelligence within it, explaining very patiently that things are not always perfect and that I certainly am not. Moreover, I should not be expected to be perfect, for nobody is. And I personally think we should all allow each others a few frailties and inadequacies. That's how I keep this inner criticize at a distance. Just don't buy everything it comes up with. We have to take responsibility for all, not allowing our inner criticize to undermine us, so that we can get on with the task of becoming all that we are intended to be. An inspiring poet. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. This is certainly right. Not even yourself, so withhold your consent. For this, create a clear boundaries. One other every important aspects of taking more control of our agenda and our life is to be clear about our boundaries. It is visual to set limits and then to be firm about sticking to them. This stops us feeling blown about all over the place or subject to other people agendas. Stress as overload is a definition most people related to and grasp immediately. One way of better thinking and understanding the phenomenon of overloading is to imagine yourself carrying a number of items on a tray, which you can manage perfectly, until someone comes along, unloads a few more items on top of which is already there. A tray now becomes quite heavy, but you can still cope up with tightening your muscles and bracing yourself. However, imagine two or more people appearing, each placing an extra, extremely heavy items on top of everything else. Suddenly, you're beyond the limit of your strength and you drop the lot. The relevant limit of your strength point is that you were carrying most of the thing quite easily. It was only when the last one of or two were added that you dropped everything, and this is what happens in our life. We can cope happily up to a certain point, which is certain amount, but if pushed beyond the limit of your resources too frequently or for too long, we can suddenly become incapable of coping with all things at all. We drop the lot. Imagine of overloading is easy to understand and cannot easily be denied. Too much overloading, whether physical or mental, and something has to give. This is very good desperation of what is happening to many people when they say they feel stressed. They are being pushed beyond the limits. This means overloaded beyond the limit of the resources that have been able to respond to all and deal comfortably with whatever is being demanded of them. Too much of your agenda. So many people feel their agenda are overloaded. This is something I hear all the times. Why? And who is overloading them up? Why are we pulling more and more on ourselves? We need to ask this question, but we all also need to be helpful to be offload. This is an essential key to our greater well-being. If you put too much onto your agenda, you may find that even the easy things feel difficult because you're overloaded. Too much is too much, whatever its nature. People often say, why I'm doing it is not very difficult, so I shouldn't make a fuss about feeling stressed. Well, no, it may not be difficult, but it can still be too much. You only have some hours in a day, and it's important to clear about how you want to spend those hours. A lot of what we do and things can be classed as clusters, trivia, or unnecessary. When I say unnecessary, I mean this is in terms of your true goals and aims. The same applies to the other two words, clutter and trivia. If we spend time on things which is not advance us towards our goals and objectives, then we will always feel frustrated and stressed because we will not have enough time left for things that are really matters. That will take us to where we feel successful and fulfilled. If you have unnecessary things in your life, you will have to spend time on their maintenance and upkeep, which is time taken away from the necessary and important things. Or if you neglect them, you will feel guilty about the neglect, and this will be another stress to carry around. So, whichever way you look at it, you don't want to unnecessary things. Clearing to move forward. A wise spiritual healer whom I know says that you must always clear to move forward. Often the reason we can't move on or feel blocked is that we could not do enough about clearing out or eliminating some of the clutters and excessive baggage we carry, both in our outer material life and in our inner thoughts and feelings. Spend some time thinking about what you want in your life and what you don't want or need any longer. Remember that it is impossible to have more of what you want if your agenda is still crammed full with great deals of what you don't want. In order to become more in control of your own agenda, the first thing that is necessary is to give yourself permission to jettison all the stuff that is not really of your choosings. Things we are not really too comfortable about, that we don't really want be, which we have somehow been persuaded that we shouldn't accommodate. Try to picture in your imagination how your life would look and feel it. If you have a good clear out and got rid of the things you think you should have but don't want. Only you can know what would be better off without, but it is important to get rid of the stuff that is blocking you down to an no avail. Once you have cleared some space, you can then think about what would really like to have there, or whatever perhaps you simply enjoy having the space. It's important to remember that it is, after all, your agenda and you are entitled to be in a charge of it. It is also important to work on just what stops from you doing what you want to do. When you're being very true to yourself rather than compelling with some ideas of what you should do or be much stressed and realized. I came across this amp little massage recently on a calendar aimed at women who do too much. We are not really asked to live anyone else's life. All we have to do is live our own life, and that seems to be quite enough indeed. Of course, it is an obvious statement. Just seeing it stated badly like that started me thinking about how much other people's live encroach on their own. How much time we perhaps spend thinking or gossiping about other people's problem, which won't make the slight differences to them and certainly won't take us nearer to your own goals. How often we do agree to meet up with the people in whom we are not terribly interested? Or how much people do we spend talking about the famous personalities in the newspaper and people we encourage through the media, whom we don't even know and will probably never meet? How much time and attention do we give to thinking about the other people's success or failures? What others should or should not do? How much emotional is spent on worrying about the friends and families or other people's options? And on it goes. This is the energy and time taken away from our own life. So just take a moment to say to yourself, I only have a life to live my life. And repeat it regularly a number of times every day. Then give up trying to live others people's life for them. A small exercise to spring clean your life. Take an overview of your life and imagine you are about to have a huge spring clean. How would you go about it? It is certainly not usual to get so carried away from the impulse to spring clean that we throw everything out and buy all our possessions and hide. That would be ridiculous. However, deciding to let go of some of the stuff we have been hanging on can feel such a relief. It makes you feel so much lighter. And once you let something go, you can appreciate the value of goods and necessary things. But when you're cluttered up, you can't see anything clearly. You just feel overloaded by everything, even the good things. Spend a little time mentally reviewing your agenda. Try to get into touch with the things that you really do not want to do, or attitude your project that are not really you want, or the beliefs you pretend to subscribe to, which perhaps get you into the situation you would rather not be. Make a list of these things that you want to be get rid of. The baggage that is weighting you down. You may wish to organize it in 2 columns. One headed outer agenda for thinking things in your outer life that would be like to be jettisons, and the other headed inner stuff for your attitudes, thoughts, fears, beliefs, and the trips you up and keep you unfree. Alternatively, you may just have a continuous list, then mentally sidelines them every day. The way to do all these things: look at the list or the two columns a number of times, and as you focus on each item, say to yourself, this is not mine, this is a part of my life. Second one, have the list beside you on the seat of your car as you drive to work or as you return home after the school runs. Each time you stop at a traffic light, glance at one item on your list and repeat the sentence. This is not my life. It is not a part of my life. Next one. Or mentally repeat this exercise on your journey into your work, by train, bus or bicycle, or while out walking with the dog. Choose the most urgent to focus on the first and gradually work down the list. This is not mine. This is not a part of my life. Next. Do the same at a regular break times during the day, at a coffee break, lunch break, or tea breaks, on the train or way to home, or in the bus, in the car, in the supermarket queue, or waiting to go into the cinemas. Anywhere you suddenly have a little space, asking yourself what is not you and what you want. Just repeat it. This is not me. This is not a part of my life. The next, go through the exercises last things at night before you go to sleep. Focus on the most important points so that thoughts are carried out into your subconscious mind as you fall asleep. This is not me. This is not a part of my life. You have to say these phrases in a present tense to convince your subconscious mind that the statements are true right now, even they are not. If you say them in a future tense, for example, this will not be for me for much longer, your subconscious cannot know when the message is going to apply, which will confuse it, and so it will be disregarded. You have to start believing it right now. The frequent repetitions of these exercises will create a strong new neural pathways in your brain and will convince your subconscious mind of the truth in the statement. The subconscious mind believes what is told. Rather, like a child, it does not discriminate or judge the material it is fed. And so, if you feed in a positive statement, it will believe them that will have a powerful effect on your life. You will then discover that your external behavior begin to alter in a way that more truly demonstrate who you are and what you want. When you start to alter your inner conditioning, many of these things will just take a care of themselves. When your inner attitude changes, a lot of things will just fall away, or you will simply lose interest in these things that we are not really necessary. Say for an example, you may suddenly realize that you have stopped thinking you have to agree with everyone, and you may find yourself saying things, actually I don't agree with that, I see it differently. When previously you would not have wanted to upset friends by disagreeing with them, but would secretly be angry with yourself for not expressing your true feelings, thereby creating internal stress of your life. You may suddenly stop being ashamed of your rather battering old cars. You may find yourself thinking that it is actually doesn't matter if you don't have a best latest BMW. or whatever brand you can imagine what you say. As you know, you are respected for who you are by the people who really count and not for what you have. You may realize that your car is a reflection of your bank balance, not your essential self, and that a funky old car is actually more individual away. What a lot of stress you can release. You may find that you don't have the same interest in reading gossips columns in the press or watching tribal television programs, and this will give you more time. You may discover that certain tasks you undertook before suddenly seems unnecessary, so that you find a way to minimize them or to delegate them or simply eliminate them from your schedule. It is amazing how you can change things when you have made up your mind. And it is informed it of the fact, preserve and see how well it works. Another way to work with the other agenda is to look at all those areas of your life and this moment that you wish you have more control over. Write them down as they come to you, no matters if they seem silly or unrealistic. Just put on the paper, in a list, in a circle, in a pattern, inside balloon, whatever feels right. It does not matter how you do it, only that you do it. Now look at each of these areas individually and ask yourself, where is the should in this? Am I caught up in some other else should, or even in my own ideas or how I should behave or how I should look? Shoulds and oughts, or though, which imply someone's control and make us feel heavy, burdened and weighted down. If the answer is yes, I am caught up in kind of shoulds. Replace the I should with I do want and see how the situation changes. Then after the I do want, say to yourself, but I want, and finish the sentences. You may feel uncomfortable with the notion of I want, but just go along with it for a while to get the flavor of what could be or what is the possibility for your life could be if you were give yourself what you really want rather than keeping on doing what you think or what you should do. Even this appears unrealistic things, all the usual concentrics of ordinary life, just go with it for a while. This will give you the sense of how you might make some adjustment that could leave you less stressed, less disturbed and more in control to your agenda. Sometimes it is a question of just looking a little more deeply into the problem and finding that there is a way of doing what you want, which also manages to take care of should in a creative way. The above exercise can reveal very important things about it dictating your agenda. Here are some examples to help with these exercises. You might have been saying to yourself and to the others, I should stay in my rather boring jobs because it pays well. But deep down you know that you feel angry and bitter and how much time you are wasting doing a job that does not really inspire you. So you then say, I do not want to go on with this job. Next you add, but I want it may be, but I want to work part-time so that I can build up my graphic portfolio to keep me work. I really enjoy and which uses more of my talents. Then listen to what you have said you want and take it seriously. In this example, you could then decide that you will manage to work part-time and live on a reduced income for a while so that you can reap greater rewards later on. This is the way you have been honest with yourself about what you really want. The next step is working out how to make them happy. It may be that you need to accept having less memory in the short term for the gain of doing what will make you happy and puts more in common. At least you would have now be making a conscious choice that respects and honors your true feelings about your life. Overcoming feelings of obligations. Perhaps we are caught up in the thoughts, I should help my friends move house, but you recognize that you will feel resentful about the times you would have to spend on this when you're already feeling overloaded with all things you need to get down in your own life. You may recognize that this is a recurring pattern, always trying to help others at your own expenses. So then, you eliminate the should and apply the freaking technique. I do want to help them with a move. After this, you consider what you do want. It could be, but I want to be a good friend. It is important for me to be kind and supportive. Having thought about this truth, you could tell your friend honestly that you do not have time to help with the house move, but you want to take him or her out to a dinner on the evening of a move to relieve their stress. This means you can still achieve the desire of being helpful and supportive, but in your own ways, in the ways that does not compromise you. Motivation. You may be saying to yourself, I should clean my home. Then you substitute, should I? I don't want. So you're saying, I not want to clean my house. Next you say, but I want. You may say, but I want to clean a house. In that case, you have two choices. Clean the house yourself or finding someone else to clean it. If you then decide that you cannot afford to pay anyone to do the cleaning, creative solutions to be your dilemma would be a focus on the result you want, a cleaner environment. So you could then decide that you want to be cleaning because you want a clean home. In other words, cleaning would give you the result you want. When you change the I should into I want, it has a different energy to do. It feels lighter and freer. However, you might have said, I don't want to clean the house, but I want to work on books, I am writing, go to cinema, meet a friends, have a drink, paint the bedroom. If one of those I wants was judged by you to be a better use of your time, that would take you nearer to the one of your life goals, that you could give up the should I make an adult decision to spend your time in the most protective way for you, thereby releasing yourself from guilt and stress. In other words, taking control of your agenda means to be becoming more consciousness, more aware of taking responsibilities for your decisions and believing in your rights to do so. Realizing that something you though was should part of your agenda is actually something you want to do will make a huge difference to your stress level. When you are doing what you want to do, you eliminate the tension, the resentment, the lack of commitments, and the potential damage to your health. You stop feeling like the undergo or the victim of things outside your control. Sometimes just affirming to yourself that you want to do the certain things that you should do can make all the differences between feeling weighted down and overburdened, or feeling confident, effective and in control. One way to achieve this is focused on what will be the result of doing what you should. And quite often, as in the example above, we actually want the results. So if you focus your attention on the want, then you may find it easier to take the action that will get you to the result. If of course you don't see any advantage in the result of doing what you should do, then what it is the point of doing it. Another way to control your agenda is to substitute the word should with the word could. So instead of saying yourself, I should do so and so, you say, I could do it. The impulse choice and your own autonomous control, the word could means that you can if you want to do, but you don't have, there is no corrections. So you're not nobody's victim, you're not manipulated, and you can choose what you wish to do, to have or to be with. A wise elderly lady I knew said that she always divided the demands of her life into 3 categories: things which could be done, things which should be done, things which must be done. Then she said that she talked the C category first, the B category next, and the last thing in A. Well, this is the one way of doing it, and it is certainly a good, straightforward strategy for proprieting your task. However, expanding these ideas further into an arena of taking more control of your agenda, thereby controlling your stress, my suggestion is that you make 3 lists under the heading of above categories, but fill in each list with the things that could, should and must be done to make you happy and more fulfilled. In other words, things for you. What you could do for you, what you should do for you, and what you must do for you, but only you, not for anyone or anything else, and take them seriously. This is important because it is so often the case that we do not take our own needs and wants seriously enough, or we regulate these any time left, and usually isn't it. The reason for this, of course, lies is not prioritizing ourselves highly enough. Do work on writing them list, as they will be very relevant. Whether you can act on them is up to you. But if you do not find yourself putting any of it into the action, then at least ask yourself why. Give yourself what you want. I am not suggesting that you become irresponsible or selfish, doing only what you want to do. I am suggesting that in order to feel more in control of your agenda, one of the most important steps is to make room for enough of what you want to do at deep level, as well as what you should do, what you want and offer related to your true self, not your everybody's responsibility. Your personality is conditioned to fit in with society and can mask your deeper self. It's a question of a balance. We are talking about having enough of what you want, not everything you want. Creating sometimes for what you want. Want is not self-indicated, it is a life enchanting. What I mean here is a creating space in your daily or weekly agenda for the things that are connected to your core values, to your deeper self, or to your creativity. These are the things that have a meaning for you and bring you joy. If you spend too much of your limited time on a task and activities that are not terribly meaning to us in terms of your value inheritancy, we become stale and unenergized. Even today, I think women are conditioned to put aside their own desires and focus more on the needs of others. It is difficult to get women to say what they want, although they will more easily talk about their needs, by which they can satisfy getting what they want. Men, however, are usually much more comfortable with doing things what they want. I always encourage my women clients to develop that more masculine drive within themselves. They say, I want. I doesn't feel guilty about the wanting, but feels important enough to be able to have what it is want. Wanting is connected to the will and the active principle. Needing has more of the passive quality. Of course, they are both valid. But wants are often more fun, and fun is an essential ingredient in a successful life. Moreover, the deeper desire within us can create havoc in our life if they are never heeded. Depression is often due to suppression importance, want and destructive behaviors in children, and frequently also be tracked to the same cause, precisely because some of our wants are important expressions of who we truly are. Rethinking your agendas. Flip through your daily diary or possibly last year's and register your feelings as you look at what you have been doing. What would you like to see there more often? What would you like less of? Why are you not putting the things you want in your schedule? Simply give yourself permission to create your agenda as you would like to be. Start this exercise slowly by putting into your daily just one thing each week that you want more of. It may be more of time from the task. Well, take it. You could code it in it. That would make you feel less guilty. For example, put lunch in me, or put your initial or a code name to yourself and take yourself out to your lunch. Treat this disappointment in the same way as you would a lunch date with one of the most important people in your life. For you can be one of the most important people in your life. In fact, you are that important person and you desire to be taken out of the lunch by you, or go for a walk in a park or the movie or an art exhibition or whatever you really want to do. Don't cancel it if something else important turns up. Be firm that you must honor the commitments to yourself. Treat yourself with awe and respect and don't dare cancel. The other things can be fitted in at another time. After all, if you had an urgent appointment with your dentist and the other important event arose, you would automatically cancel the dentist, would you? Well, your wants are as important as toothache. In fact, they are an ache of kind and you must ease them. It's your responsibility. Once you get used to this weekly treat, put 2 or 3 more special events for you into your week. You could code the special event and write C with special event, or block or certain periods that are just for you to use as you desire when the time arrives. You will actually do everything else so much more effectively when having a little more of what you want for you. will not be carrying so much resentment. Giving yourself time to engage with whatever you really want with probably mean you will still get everything else done because you will work at it with more ease and happiness. Thank you.